Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This right here is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Just lovely to have you along for the ride. Great to have you along for the ride, as per usual. You ever read something, and I'm sure it happens a lot in today's day and age, where you look at your phone and you're like, no, this isn't true. Well, what's going on here, right? So Saturday, I'm just perusing, scrolling, doing the thing that we all do, and I come across this story by Marcus Hayes of Inquirer.com. The headline of the story: Fire Nick? Hardly. Lori thinks Sirianni is Andy Reid. Light. L-I-T-E. Like Miller Lite. For the Eagles. NFL sources say. Marcus Hayes wrote a story about how these NFL sources are saying Jeffrey Lurie really sees a hell of a lot of potential in Nick Sirianni. I'll read you a couple excerpts from the story coming up on the program today. It was one of those things I thought it was one of those things that you thought, oh, wait, if I click on this, is it just an advertisement type of thing? Is this strictly clickbait? But no, it's true. There are people that believe that Jeffrey Lurie believes, and I can only assume that Jeffrey Lurie has given this impression, that Nick Sirianni is a Andy Reid that is fermenting right now. He's not quite ready to be served, but he's at least ready to be the head coach of this football team by title. This isn't the vibe I necessarily wanted to have when training camp starts this week. Your Philadelphia Eagles report to camp starting tomorrow, and we're going to hear from Nick Sirianni in what will be the first press conference of training camp. If you want to look at it as the new actual season getting underway, even though the calendar year started again in March, you can look at it like that. But I don't see it. And one of the reasons I don't see it is because I believe Nick Sirianni starting out this season is absolutely 1,000% on the hot seat as this season gets underway. You can't have the collapse that you had last year that we all don't need to relive again, so I'll spare you of that. But you can't have that and then start out slow again the following year and expect to maintain your job, especially when it seems as if your responsibility is as light as it's ever been and only continues to get lighter. Literally, the only way Nick Sirianni could get less responsibility is by having no title with this team whatsoever. Instead of the head coach, which it is on the website, it says he's the head coach. I refer to him more as the, no, not CEO, head coach. You know what? Not even assistant to the regional manager. You know what he is? He's like a guidance counselor. That's basically the way I look at Nick Sirianni right now. He's the guidance counselor of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's not the principal. He's not even really the teacher. He's not assistant principal. He's the guidance counselor. He's the guy, you have to seek him out. And he's got to say, oh, well, here's where we're going with things, and how do you think you feel about it? Okay. All right, but carry on. That's the way I look at Nick Sirianni and this football team. Apparently, Jeffrey Lurie looks at him and sees the future, the next Andy Reid. We'll get into that story. The Phillies managed to not get swept out of the old Berg there. That's a good thing. That didn't happen. Tyler Phillips came in and saved the day with a great pitching performance. 6 scoreless innings, surrendering just 4 hits, striking out 3. The sweeper was certainly keeping the Pirates off balance yesterday. The bats came around. They took a big advantage of an awful error that you don't really see too much. O'Neal Cruz dropping the exchange from Gonzalez there at second base, drops the double play ball in the 7th inning that later leads to 3 more runs being scored in the inning. Kyle Schwarber grounded into what looked like it was going to be a double play ball, an inning-ending double play. Pache had already struck out in the inning. I believe it was Stubbs that worked a walk. Schwarber grounds out. Looks like he's grounding into the 4-6-3 double play. Gonzalez tosses to Cruz. Cruz just straight up drops it. Originally, it was called an out at second base, and O'Neal Cruz just flat out dropped it. It was ruled that he lost it on the exchange. He did not. He never caught it. And I thought it was blatantly obvious. And you never see this particular thing overturned, but it was the obvious call to make. So they made the right call. The inning stays alive. You now got first and second with one out, and the Phillies go on to score 3 more runs in the inning. You had Turner step up there with an RBI. Harper had an RBI ground out. Bohm had an RBI single. Phillies scored 3 runs in the 7th inning, made it a 5-0 ball game. And then in the 9th inning, Nick Castellanos came up and hit his 14th home run of the season to make it a 5-0 Phillies victory. A 6-0 Phillies victory for the final cherry on top, if you will. The Phillies avoid the sweep in Pittsburgh. We'll get into that game. We'll go through it, talk about what Tyler Phillips is doing well in that game, and how if you're looking at series where the Phillies have lost back-to-back series after sweeping the Dodgers, which is just even more amazing that they swept the Dodgers, the Phillies avoided their first 4-game losing streak of the season. They suffer their second 3-game losing streak of the season, their first 3-game losing streak since the end of May, when that that awful Colorado Rockies series and San Francisco Giants series out there, the West Coast. That was not fun. That was not great. And we relived some of those memories in this series and before the All-Star break when he lost 2 or 3 to the A's. Obviously, you got JT Realmuto back now. He didn't look like he missed a beat. Got a hit, threw a runner out at second base in his start on Saturday. That was great to see. But overall, this Phillies team now, over their last 34 games, is 2 games over 500. We know that Ranger Suarez doesn't look the same. We cross our fingers and hope we see a better version of Ranger Suarez today in Minnesota. We know that Zach Wheeler has been dealing with some back tightness. Both Suarez and Wheeler sat out the All-Star game despite being All-Stars, despite being 2 of the best pitchers in baseball in the first half of the season. Now they'll get underway in this series against the Minnesota Twins. We're waiting for the Phillies to regain control. And when I watch the Phillies now, I don't watch them with the same confidence that I watched them a month ago with. Because, yeah, you can go out there and sweep the Dodgers, but it felt like it came crashing back down to earth a little bit in that Braves series, unfortunately. And the Braves took a huge hit because not only do they have Ronald Acuna Jr. out for the season, Spencer Strider out for the season, a list of other injuries throughout this year, but now Ozzie Albies is going to be missing about the next 2 months with a broken wrist, suffered in a freak accident at second base yesterday. Going to try to catch a ball and apply a tag, did neither of them, got his left hand, his mitt, caught on the runner, and it looked like he bent his wrist back and broke it. Had to leave the game. Phillies, by the way, despite their 3-game losing streak, even though they broke it yesterday, but despite that, despite their struggles, despite being, again, 2 games over 500 in their last 34 games now, the Phillies are still 8.5 games up on the Braves. And you guys know how I feel about this. I've been saying for a long time that I hate the idea that we even have to talk about the Braves. Like, I wish the Braves were just why do we even have to talk about them now? Like, to talk about the Braves means you still think they're a threat. To me, the only threat to the Phillies should be in the National League. The only threat that should exist to the Phillies in the National League is the LA Dodgers. And they swept them. And then Shohei Ohtani hit a 473-foot home run yesterday. So, holy Stromboli, that happened. Yeah. But yeah, so looking at this Phillies team, I don't want to have to talk about the Braves anymore. And I would really like for them to just completely put the Braves in double digits behind them. And it's going to be a tough road ahead of the Phillies. We've talked about this before, but here it is one more time. You have that 3-game series there against the Pirates. You only won 2 of 3 in that one. Then you have 3 in Minnesota before coming home for 6. 3 against the Guardians. 3 against the Yankees, who, by the way, speaking of teams that have just been god-awful, the Yankees are 12 games under 500 since June 15th. They're pretty terrible. They lost again yesterday. Then Seattle, and then you got those 3 games opening up August against, in the first week of August, rather, against the LA Dodgers. So, yeah, that's where we're at, folks, when it comes to the Phils. That's exciting. Team USA almost lost to South Sudan. That's exciting. And trade deadline ever approaching in Major League Baseball. We got a lot to get into on today's program, but let's start it off once again with this story about Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie. This story, once again, was written by Marcus Hayes, Inquirer.com. Here's an excerpt from the story. Camp starts Tuesday. Nick's still here. Why? Because Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie believes Nick Sirianni could be the next Andy Reid or Bill Belichick. Maybe even Bill Walsh or Don Shula. Marcus Hayes, you stop that jibba-jabba. Jeffrey Lurie hired Nick Sirianni after firing overmatched Doug Peterson in 2021 after 5 roller coaster seasons. Lurie wasn't looking to hire a coach for the next 5 years. He was looking to hire one for the next 20. Lurie still believes Sirianni can be that guy. Here's a quote from an NFL source. Jeffrey thinks Nick is the real deal, said a former Eagles executive in a recent conversation. Now, look, I don't want to name names. I don't know who this is. I don't want to speculate, but I'm gonna. So Joe Banner, that's the way I look at it. So Joe Banner was talking to Marcus Hayes. That's the way if I had to jump to a conclusion, again, speculate, wild guess, hypothesis, I would say it was Joe Banner being like, oh no, Jeffrey Lurie, he loves Nick Sirianni. What, are you kidding me? All right, let's just forget about my assumption, okay? Jeffrey Lurie thinks Nick is the real deal. What have I been telling you guys when it comes to Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and Jeffrey Lurie? If you're Jeffrey Lurie and you're looking to hire a head coach, what are you really going for? Are you at this point in your career? What are you really going for? Are you looking for another Andy Reid? Andy Reid's going to the Hall of Fame. Andy Reid was a really, really good football coach here in Philadelphia with blind spots that he never figured out how to see. Whether that was running the football, which has just become the way of the nature of the beast in the NFL now. Just like, run the ball. What are you, crazy? You didn't get just do a screen pass. It's like a run. Yeah, but you know what's funny about it? It's not. Time management was a big thing. Well, I don't want to relive the Andy Reid era, but there's just to set that stage. So now Nick Sirianni is here in Philadelphia, and Jeffrey Lurie, I don't feel is looking to hire the next Andy Reid. Because the next Andy Reid also grew in responsibility and power. And Nick Sirianni is never going to grow with this football team with responsibility and power. Forget about the obvious for a second. That Andy Reid has been to multiple Super Bowls. Andy Reid has won multiple Super Bowls. Andy Reid is what is he now? 4th on the all-time coaching win list? Forget about the obvious. So forget about that for a second and think about the career path. We have already seen, and I've covered this multiple times already, and it's nothing you don't already know. We have already seen the dwindling responsibility of Nick Sirianni in his time with the Philadelphia Eagles. When you compare that to Andy Reid, again, Andy Reid grew in power and responsibility with the Philadelphia Eagles. Andy Reid eventually got to the point of final say. Do you believe that Nick Sirianni is ever going to have final say? Do you believe that he's ever going to be like, no, Howie, this is what we're doing? No. Do you think he's ever going to tell Jeffrey Lurie, no, this is what we're doing? No. This is what I've been saying throughout all the offseason conversation about Nick Sirianni and why he's still here in Philadelphia. I don't believe that Nick Sirianni is qualified to be the head coach that they hired. I mean, you saw it. Again, not calling plays anymore, not doing the game plan anymore. There was a report late last week from Diana Rossini talking about how, Nick was still the guy calling the plays. Interesting. Interesting, because the only thing Nick would say constantly throughout the year was that he was doing the game plan, Brian Johnson was calling the plays. I would find it very hard to believe that Nick Sirianni would just blatantly lie all throughout last season. It's my offense, Brian calls the plays. So I don't know how much I believe the source that Diana Rossini was referencing in the story. But when it comes to Sirianni, I just don't understand how other people don't see this. The number one responsibility of the Philadelphia Eagles head coach is to make Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman feel like they run things. That's the number one. That's the number one thing. It's not, hey, winning's nice, but don't you dare, if I'm Jeffrey Lurie, make me feel like I don't own the team. Don't you make me feel like Howie Roseman isn't the king of the world when it comes to the amazing transactions he can pull off, contract negotiations, trades, free agent signings, all that. Don't make me feel like this isn't top notch. And if you want evidence of that, the evidence is that Doug Peterson is no longer here. The only coach to win you a Super Bowl is not here. And that happened rather quickly. And who did you hire after that? Did you hire a guy like, did you go and try to get Jim Harbaugh? Oh, you didn't do that. That's interesting. Okay. You didn't go out and get a bigger named guy that you knew you'd hire and he would have full control. He would be the Bill Parcells line. If you want me to cook dinner, I want to be involved in cooking and buying the groceries. Nick Sirianni ain't that guy. You got another guy you could control. And we are still living in a shadow of the Chip Kelly era in Philadelphia, because the Chip Kelly era was such an incredible about face from Andy Reid that it has scarred Jeffrey Lurie. And Jeffrey Lurie doesn't want to hire any coach that's going to come in here and make Jeffrey Lurie feel like he doesn't own the team. And that was, unfortunately, Chip's greatest mistake. Like, Jeffrey Lurie, oh, thanks for signing the check. See you later. I'm running the team. This is my team. Jeffrey Lurie's like, no, because I signed the checks, this is my team. Deuces. And then he hired Doug Peterson, a guy he knew he'd have power over, and he hired Nick Sirianni, a guy he knew he'd have power over. So to say that Jeffrey Lurie is looking at Nick Sirianni as if he's the real deal, what? Because he checks the box of emotional intelligence? Your quarterback couldn't even say something nice about him a month ago. What are we even talking about here? Ugh. The number one job for the Philadelphia Eagles head coach is to let Jeffrey Lurie know he's running things. And to let Howie Roseman know he's running things right under Nick Sirianni. And then there's a pretty big drop-off. And that's one of the reasons I do believe that they were so willing to keep Nick Sirianni and then hire a better coaching staff around him with better coordinators. Because an offensive coordinator is not going to leapfrog over a head coach in season with power. Like, he's not going to, step over the head coach to get to the front office and tell him, no, this is how we do things. It's like, dude, you're a coordinator. Get the hell out of here. The only way it happens is you have to root for the negative. If you believe the long-term success of the Philadelphia Eagles is lying more in hands of Kellen Moore than it is Nick Sirianni, then you unfortunately have to you have to root for the Eagles to be bad to start the season. You have to root for gut-wrenching losses to start the year. You have to root for an embarrassing loss in São Paulo, Brazil, to start the season. So that's only the first domino to fall on the way to Kellen Moore becoming the next head football coach. And the only reason I say it's not going to be Vic Fangio is because I don't believe Vic Fangio has any desire to be a head football coach, interim or not. I think he's very happy just to be closer to home, be closer to the Palladium to get lunch, and then run a defense. He's going to enjoy his passion. And he's going to get some good chicken cutlets down there in South Philly. That's what he's going to do. And Kellen Moore is like, no, I'm building my career, man. I'm going to be a head coach. I'm going to be successful in this league. That's the way I see all this working out. So, like Nick Sirianni, again, the question we continue to go back to is what is it? What are you doing here? Because your quarterback doesn't seem to know. So when I see this story, I don't believe it. I believe that Marcus Hayes got sources that say or talked to sources that said, "Oh no, Jeffrey's very, very excited about Nick Sirianni and what he can do here in Philadelphia, and sees him as the next Andy Reid." I believe people said that. I just don't see it. And I think that's bonkers to have that opinion. Camp, yeah, people, it's showing up tomorrow at the NovaCare complex. It's supposed to make me feel good. So you have to root for the negative for the Eagles. You have to root for the unfortunate side of things to start playing out if you want to see this Eagles team make a change in the head coach, because that's the only way Nick Sirianni is out in season and Kellen Moore gets hired. It is extremely rare. I can't really. I've told you guys. I can't. No example comes to mind of a team going through a season, making the playoffs. Like, I do expect the Eagles to make the playoffs, doing well in the playoffs, getting to an NFC Championship game, and then firing the head coach and promoting the offensive coordinator to the head coach spot. It's happened in season plenty of times where you've had interim coaches become the next head coach. So that's what we're doing now in Philadelphia. We're like, all right, let's see what happens. First of all, let's have a great year. And then do you want to, let's see, if you go to an NFC Championship game, Kellen Moore is going to have interviews after that to go somewhere else to be a head coach, and Kellen Moore is most likely going to get that head coaching job. So then you're back in the vicious cycle of finding the next offensive coordinator. And Kellen Moore, who brought in staff members that he wanted to around him in the offense, is probably going to take a bunch of those guys with him. And then here we are again. Going for, let's see, Steichen, Johnson, the Kellen Moore, a fourth offensive coordinator. In 4 years. We're having fun. We're all having fun here. Good times. As far as the Andy Reid comparison goes, just one last time. The Andy Reid era in Philadelphia was a very successful era. The Eagles were always in it. I mean, a few seasons, of course, they weren't, but certainly felt like you could trust the Eagles to be ready to go every single year, that they were at least going to be competitive. But like I said, there were huge blind spots. I don't think Nick Sirianni ever gets to the point where we're only talking about one or two blind spots. And short of a Super Bowl appearance, I don't see him being back after this season. Now, here's the part that sucks. I got to now root for the Eagles to be great, but knowing if they are great, truly great, that Nick Sirianni's back. And then you have to have somebody else come in here. And what is he going to learn? All of a sudden learn how to really game plan and call plays this year, learning it from Kellen Moore? Interesting. I'm going to cross my fingers that actually happens. Now, in all of this, outside of Nick Sirianni, I feel pretty damn good about this football team. And I'm very excited that you're going to see the players showing up at the NovaCare complex tomorrow. You're going to see the guys on the field probably walking around a little bit. They're going to go through their testing, their conditioning drills, all that stuff. And then later in the week, we'll hear from Nick Sirianni. But Howie Roseman has done a phenomenal job this offseason of putting together one talented roster, especially when it comes to, in particular, the offensive side of the football. I have a lot of questions about the defensive side of the football. Look, linebacker questions. Again, cool. And then defensive line, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis lasting a whole year now that they know they're the dogs and all that stuff. It's gonna be an interesting season on the defensive side of the football. Who's going to play opposite Darius Slay? How long is James Bradbury going to be here? Safety positions, Cooper DeJean, these rookies breaking in, Quinyon Mitchell. All that's going to be very interesting stuff. Bryce Huff. Is he really going to be ready for a 30% snap increase from a year ago? Is he going to be ready to do that? Oh, and still get 10 sacks last year. Can he get 15 now with the Eagles? The Jets didn't have scrubs in the middle of that defensive line, you know. There's a lot of questions we'll get into. We have plenty of time to explore them as training camp begins. Happy training camp week, everyone. I'm excited. You're excited. We're all excited. Let's talk some baseball. Your Philadelphia Phillies were in danger of getting The Brooms in DeBerg. Aaron Nola went out there, struggled in the series opener. That wasn't fun to watch. Offense was alive and well. Jose Alvarado couldn't close out the win. Things didn't go well for the Phillies in game one. Despite the offense breaking out, they blew it late in the game. Then the Phillies offense, again, sucked. Excuse me. Then the Phillies offense took the turn to suck, and pitching actually did well. Christopher Sanchez actually pitched well in the second game of this series. The offense got nothing going. They went from the sixth inning, including the sixth inning of game one, through the eighth inning of game two without scoring a run. This offense, now keep in mind, game two, JT Realmuto was back in the lineup. He even got a hit, as I mentioned. Still, the only run you could score was Bryce Harper's 22nd home run of the season in the top of the ninth inning that he blasted 428 feet that went into the Allegheny off the hop. So what was going to lie in wait for us in game three? You were turning to Tyler Phillips. Tyler Phillips, of course, had that great breakout relief appearance, 4 innings, 1 run against the Atlanta Braves. Earned a start, his first major league start the following 5 games later with Michael Mercado not looking too hot in the process. He goes out there and he goes 6 innings, allows 4 runs. Good job by him against the A's. The only game you won against the A's. So then he gets another opportunity after the All-Star break to get his second big league start. And wouldn't you know it, it was in another game where you needed at least one win in the series to avoid getting swept. So he gets out there. He didn't know that, of course, going into the A's start, but he knew it going into this one. And he goes out there and is great. 6 innings of scoreless baseball for a 25-year-old making just his second big league start is pretty damn fantastic. And there was one particular at bat where I thought he showed phenomenal big boy poise. And you could say it was only against the 9-hole hitter. It's not that big a deal. The hell with that, man. He's a guy trying to make his bones in the big leagues. This is a big deal. And the at bat that I'm talking about in particular was the at bat against Bart in the 3rd inning. He gets Joe to ground out to shortstop to start things off. Bart steps up to the plate. He immediately goes down 3-0. All 3 pitches outside the zone to Bart. So he hasn't walked anybody to this point yet. Hasn't walked anybody in his big league career yet. And then he gets Bart 3-0, bounces back to throw 3 straight strikes and gets him to strike out, swinging over top of sinker on a 3-2 sink. Gets him to strike out. So he battled back in that one. Then, unfortunately, the next batter after that was Andrew McCutchen. He came up and got a single. Then he walked Reynolds for his first big league walk. Phillips then has runners on first and second with 2 outs in the inning and doesn't let it go any further than that. He strikes out Cruz on a curveball in the dirt, gets him swinging over top of that. And that was a beautiful pitch. And he was using that curve. He was using the sweeper yesterday extremely well, if not to put away guys, but also to keep them off balance and get ground outs, whatever the case might be, or at least get up in a count. He was doing that really well yesterday. He did it well against the A's. He did it extremely well yesterday against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I didn't think I need Tyler Phillips this year to be a stopper for the Phils, but that's exactly what he was yesterday against the Pirates, a stopper. Without him doing what he did, you're probably looking at your first 4-game losing streak of the season. But he got out there and he pitched well. Offense also got him some help early in the game in the 2nd inning. Weston Wilson, by the way, trading Weston Wilson essentially, trading Whit Merrifield essentially for Weston Wilson, that's a win, Dave Dombrowski. That's a win. Good hustle to you. Weston Wilson went out there, got a sac fly RBI to get the Phillies on the board in the 2nd inning. Garrett Stubbs then stepped up there again. He got an RBI single to right field to make it a 2-0 ball game. You'll love to see it. Bohm had a single earlier in the inning. Edmundo Sosa, he was great. He got a double earlier in the inning. Both of them came around to score. Phillies then weren't able to do anything again offensively until later in the game in the 7th inning when the floodgates opened up thanks to a O'Neill Cruz error, dropping that double play ball from Gonzalez, Nick Gonzalez at second base. Turner got the RBI single. Stubbs scored. Harper got the RBI ground out. Schwarber scored on that one. Bohm then got the RBI single to bring home. Trey Turner made it a 5-0 ball game. Castellanos in the ninth cushioned the lead even further. Got a 1-2 curveball down. Not a good pitch to hit, but he broke out the 9-iron and blasted it down the left field line for a home run. Made it a 6-0 Phillies lead, and the Phillies won 6-0. Couple interesting things. Bryson Stott played one game in this series. Now, he faced two lefties. So the majority of time, Bryson Stott's not facing lefties. Edmundo Sosa has played great this year. If you're the type of person that says, give away the farm to get Mason Miller or Brent Rooker or Luis Robert Jr., If you're one of those people, you gotta make tough decisions. You want to win. Well, then tough decisions also include less playing time for Bryson Stott. I love Bryson Stott. I love his approach to the plate. I love what he did for the Phillies last year. I love his mitt in the field. I love his attitude. Yeah, love all that. But you know what I don't love? 235. I don't love that. I don't love a whole season of being terrible at hitting baseballs. September of last year, he really struggled. This year, he's been struggling big time. Talk about postseason performance last year, home run against the Marlins. That's great, awesome, good, great, grand. But this year, he ain't cutting it. They made a tough decision in admitting an $8 million mistake in Whit Merrifield, and now Weston Wilson is getting some reps. They're probably still, I know for a fact, obviously, they're still kicking the tires when it comes to other outfield people they could be scouring the league for to bring in here to help them win now in that big trade scenario. But Weston Wilson's a good first step. First step is admitting Whit Merrifield was a mistake. After that, Bryson Stott just acknowledging the fact that he hasn't been able to cut it this year. Less of him and more of Edmundo Sosa seems to make a whole lot of sense for the rest of this Phillies season. Best players always got to play, especially if you're looking to be the best team in baseball. And the Phillies have had the best record in baseball for the vast majority of the season. Over the next 2 weeks, week and a half, you're going to be making some really tough decisions. Bryson Stott might be one of those decisions. I'm not saying the Phillies trade him. I'm not saying the Phillies cut him by any stupid means, nothing like that. But if you're talking about this year, he just ain't doing it, man. And I know playing with three other all-stars in the infield kind of gives you not as much pressure because you have three other guys that are going to pick up a lot of the weight. And I'm sure if Bryson Stott being a competitor, that does get to him, that he's not pulling his own weight on this team. Edmundo Sosa getting starts against lefties could just be the beginning. Because then you're also talking about opportunities where Weston Wilson is your left fielder for a good amount of time in times that you're not playing Brandon Marsh against lefties. And then you're also talking about the opportunity in the infield to have that platoon with Edmundo Sosa. There is at very least a platoon scenario here. And then as the season goes on, you're probably going to want to give Bryce Harper a day off or two. Alec Boehm's going to move over to first base. Edmundo Sosa have another opportunity to play third. It's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing with Bryson Stott because he has shown no signs whatsoever of breaking out of this slump that he's been in all year. And really what we're talking about here, when you're talking about an all-year slump, you're not talking about a slump anymore. You're talking about a bad year. And Bryson Stott is having a very bad year right now for the Phillies. Daycare club, daycare kids, all that's fun. It's great. They're having a good time. But the production on the field hasn't been there for Bryson Stott. So as people have tough conversations about who they're going to trade, who they're going to part with in their minor league farm system, all those are going to be tough calls. But there's also tough calls to make at the big league level as well. Phillies already made a tough call when it came to Rafael Marchand. JT Realmuto was activated off the IL. We had been talking about Garrett Sellers versus Rafael Marchand, and the Phillies made the decision that I thought they were going to make, which is Marchand goes back down to the minors. He plays every day, and then they're going to bring him back up for September call-ups. But in the meantime, hey, Garrett Stubbs been getting on base, driving in runs, baby. Good for him. Throwing guys out at second base, taking fastballs off his the back of his hand, not breaking a bone. You can't break the Iron Man, Garrett Stubbs. He's like a piece of iron. You can't break him. But anyway, yeah, you got the RBI yesterday. Been hitting, throwing guys out. You love to see it. You love to see it. Phillies, like I said, start that 3-game series in Minnesota. Note the start times. Good Lord. What are we doing with these start times? 7:40. When I think of the Phillies playing in Minnesota, you know what I think of? I think of, I want to say it was a 451-foot home run by Jim Thome in his second stint with the Phillies that he blasted over the batter's eye in center field. The number 451 jumps out to me for that home run. And I think shortly after that, he got traded. But yeah, that was in Minnesota. That's a beautiful field they have out there in Minnesota. So I look forward to seeing that on TV. I do. I'm a nerd. I look forward to just seeing the baseball fields. So yeah, you got that. You got the 2 7:40 start times, and then you got the 1:10 start time on Wednesday. As far as your pitching matchups go, at least for the Phillies, they're going to be rolling out Ranger Suarez tonight to start off that series. So I look forward to seeing how Ranger bounces back from his own back soreness. He was having back spasms. And then after that, Zach Wheeler will make the start on Wednesday. Or should be on Tuesday against Wood Richardson. And then they're going to bring back, is this right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Aaron Nola will make the start on Wednesday. And then they come home. Yeah. As it's slated right now, the Phillies are actually set up to face Ben Lively. Former Philly Ben Lively, now 32 years old, pitching for the Cleveland Guardians. He's 8-6 on the season with a 3.57 ERA. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. We don't need to get ahead of ourselves. No, we don't. So that's the way that looks for the Phils. As for the rest of that Phillies game, Stubbs was behind the plate. Oh, there's one more thing. Speaking of tough decisions, Jose Alvarado has been terrible. He's been terrible. We can all acknowledge this fact that he's been terrible. He's having an awful month of July. So yesterday, he went out there. Well, I should start with this. After he blew the save in Game 1 against the Pirates, he went to his locker, and he was as accountable as you would want any pitcher. He wasn't making excuses. He was acknowledging that he was struggling. He's going to work hard to get back at it and have success again and be that guy that was 23 straight innings where he didn't allow a run. He was just incredible. One of the best relievers in baseball for a nice stretch there. His last month has not been good. London things started to fall apart when he blew the second save opportunity in that game. Gregory Soto first. Then Jose Alvarado blew the last one against the Mets in Game 2 in London and really hasn't been the same pitcher ever since then. So after the most recent demise against the Pirates, he was very accountable, held himself accountable in his locker, and then got an opportunity to get out there yesterday. He pitched the 8th inning yesterday. In the 8th inning, it was a 5-0 ball game. They brought Jose Alvarado in. He faces their 9-hole hitter, Bart. Bart smacks a single under the diving mitt of Trey Turner at shortstop, and he puts it into left field. When I say smacks, he barreled up this pitch. So you're thinking, great, he's going to get hit hard again. Here we go. Then he gets McCutcheon to foul out to Alec Bowen, made a great play going up against the netting in foul territory, made the first out of the inning there. So he gets the first out. Then he strikes out Reynolds and he strikes out Cruz, both using his cut fastball on that, and he gets back-to-back strikeouts to get out of the inning. After giving up the leadoff single and thinking, are we actually going to make a game of this there, Jose? He says, no way. And he closed the door after that. Building blocks. You know what that is for me? That is 1 in a row for Jose Alvarado. 1 in a row. Now let's put 2 together in this twin series. And then let's put 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 of just, scoreless innings. Let's do that, Jose Alvarado. Sound good? Sounds great. You know what else sounds great? MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Download the MyBookie app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Want to bet on the world of baseball when it comes to the Phillies and Twins taking on each other in this next 3 games? Use MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Download the app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and you'll get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Oh, the Game Time app. Making a trip out there to Minnesota? Game Time app. Phillies come back for 6 games? Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy. Get $20 off your first purchase. If you're looking for tickets to the game, the concert, the comedy show, Game Time app has you covered. They have flash ticket deals, last-minute ticket deals, even ticket deals for an hour after the event starts. So if you are going to a concert, if you are going to a comedy show, you can still see the headliner at a great discounted rate on the incredible Game Time app. They have the guaranteed lowest price. How about that? You know how they do that? If you find tickets in the same section, in the same row for less money, the Game Time app will credit your account 110% of the difference. How about that? That's the Game Time guarantee. Make sure you download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. You could view your seat before you buy it so you know exactly what you're getting, and you could toggle the app to know what your checkout price is going to be. So there's no surprise at the end. It's all in pricing. So when you all of a sudden get a checkout, you're like, wait, hold on, these $25 tickets become $30. What? Not on the Game Time app. You know before you check out on the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase. How about PHL Sports Nation? Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Eagles training camp. Follow along, PHLSportsNation.com. That's PHLSportsNation.com. How about our friends at Sky Motorcars? SkyMotorcars.com. Check out Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine morning. Here's what we're discussing today. The comparison in the Marcus Hayes story with Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni. Jeffrey Lurie seeing a lot of Andy Reid in Nick Sirianni. We're discussing the Philadelphia Phillies being able to avoid the sweep in Pittsburgh, but still just 3 games over 500 in their last 34 games. Not ideal for a team that is still enjoying the best record in baseball. Also because the Yankees are collapsing at the same time. I wouldn't say the Phillies are collapsing. The Phillies are over 500 in that time. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. April leading it off for us. What's going on, April? Nice to see you. Sean Kilrain, what's popping? I really like this kid. Phillies rookie Tyler Phillips has 15 strikeouts in his 3 appearances, now 2-0. Phillies end their losing streak in Pittsburgh. I am really liking Tyler Phillips. Now, he's been winning. So it's easy to like someone then, but he gave up 4 runs to the A's. But he still pitched well for the majority of that start. Had a quality start until he allowed that 4th run in his last inning. But came out well against the Braves, as we all know. And then here's what's really interesting. So go back to that Braves series for a second in Atlanta. Remember going into Game 3. So the Phillies had Ranger Suarez, I think it was going Game 2 of that series. And Ranger got shelled. My big complaint on the postcast, if you remember, my big complaint was, well, now you have put the ball in the hands of Michael Mercado. And you have said, hey, rookie, go out there and get us this win. Win us this series against the Braves. Have at it. Well, who am I going to be facing in that start? Ronaldo Lopez. But don't worry about that guy. He's not that good. Just go out there and you pitch your baseball. And then he was terrible. Couldn't find the strike zone. And they're just racking up runs, man. Just racking up runs on Michael Mercado. They put Michael Mercado in a terrible position, and Michael Mercado responded like a lot of rookies would respond. He was terrible. But bottom line, now he's back in the minors. So the Phillies, not that it's the same rivalry, not that it means the same for the overall grand scheme of things in the season, but the Phillies still faced a really tough situation of potentially this time around getting swept. Now, instead of winning the series against the Braves, they obviously lost it. Now, they just weren't trying to win this series against the Pirates in Game 3, being that they had already lost it, but they gave the ball to a rookie in a tough situation and said, hey, rookie, now it's on you. Make sure we don't get swept. Well, didn't you already have Aaron Nola starting this series? Didn't you already have an all-star and Christopher Sanchez starting this series? And now it's up to me? All right, here goes nothing. 6 scoreless innings, 4 hits. Michael Mercado in Atlanta could not rise to the occasion. Michael Mercado back in the minors. Tyler Phillips rose to the occasion phenomenally well yesterday. Phillies get the win, and Pittsburgh avoid the brooms. That was a big thing for Tyler Phillips yesterday. I was surprised he didn't talk to the team or talk to the post-game crew. It was Garrett Stubbs doing the post-game interview. I wanted to hear from Tyler Phillips. What the hell, man? Anyway, great win for him yesterday. Way to pick up the team. Good morning, Sean Gillespie. Fermenting? Yeah, he's fermenting. No? Yeah. Who did I use that on? Nick Sirianni? He's fermenting? No, I don't think he's fermenting. Sean Coates saw this in the 29 seasons before Laurie bought the Eagles from Norman Brave in 1966 to 1994. The Eagles had 10 winning seasons, 17 losing seasons, and 2 500 seasons. I didn't know the specific numbers, but I knew they were drastic. Like, let's think about this. Before Jeffrey Lurie owned the Eagles, like, imagine this for a second. Imagine the Eagles not being the number 1 team in Philadelphia. Think about that. It's a baseball town. And now the Eagles, I mean, the NFL, it's not just Jeffrey Lurie. The NFL has done a phenomenal job of taking over the country. And now they're trying to take over the world. That's why you're playing games in Brazil. That's why you're playing games in London. That's why you're in Germany playing games. That's why you're in Mexico City playing these games. That's why. Roger Goodell has a dream of global domination, expanding the game. He saw what David Stern did with the 1992 Dream Team, and it was the greatest advertisement for the NBA ever. Now Roger Goodell is trying to have the greatest advertisement for the NFL ever by having all these international games. It's worth a shot. You already have all of America. Why not continue to sell jerseys in Brazil? Boost jersey sales. Why not continue to do that in England? Why not do that in Germany? Why not just keep on doing it? If you're Roger Goodell, you just want to keep on going. My prediction is that you are in the very foreseeable future. You're going to have 2 bye weeks. You're going to have 18 games in a season, and you're going to have teams potentially out of London. You're going to have a London-based GFL, Global Football League, I guess. That would make Roger Goodell excited. Why the hell did I get into that rant? Oh, comparing the old days to new. So yeah, Jeffrey Lurie's done a phenomenal job as an owner. I mean, we see all his blemishes because he's our guy, but a lot of teams around the league like to have him as an owner. IBH, what's going on? Nice to see you. Norman Braven brings back memories. Sean Gillespie will have the final say in the type of creamer the Eagles use in the office. So Sirianni has much to do. I have this new oat milk creamer, you guys. The worst thing ever for the Eagles was having Chip Kelly taking full control. He abused his own players and brought over so much corruption. I'd say that's just about right. Sean Gillespie. Thank you, James Alexander III. Eagles office, Sean Gillespie. Eagles office is a major roadblock to the team's success, especially long-term sustained multiple Super Bowls. There's been issues. Babs, as far as you see what Diana Rossini was saying about the Eagles, I did. We talked about it on. I did reference it on the show earlier, but we talked about it on the Fantastic Sports Show on Fox 29 Friday night. Eitan and I and Tom Shredder. We talked about the Diana Rossini story about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts kind of not being on the same page, and I feel like that's been a story that's been talked. That wasn't surprising to me. What was surprising to me was the claim that Nick Sirianni was calling the plays. Because if that's true, then I don't imagine Nick Sirianni as a bold-faced liar. And if he's going through the season last year and all the while saying, it's my offense, Brian calls the plays. It's my offense, Brian calls the plays. It's my offense, Brian calls the plays. And he's saying all that while it's his offense and he's calling the plays. Well, then he's a liar. At least you know what I would expect Nick Sirianni to say for the people that always go, well, what's he going to say? Well, here's what he could say. You know, when it comes to calling plays, we have a great offense coordinator, Brian Johnson. We work together. That's what he could say. But instead, he just puts it all on Brian Johnson. So maybe that's all. Now, this is as I start to really dissect it and go further with it. The original take on Jalen Hurts not being able to say something nice about Nick Sirianni. Was he still sour that they fired his guy, Brian Johnson, who he's known since he was 4 years old, and brought in Kellen Moore when Brian Johnson wasn't the problem? Meaning Jalen Hurts in this universe we're living in right now, in this Diana Rossini story, that means that Jalen Hurts would be even more bitter and pissed off and sour on the idea of, hold on a second. My guy, Brian Johnson, you never even gave the play calling to. You didn't even give game planning to. He was just a guy with a title of offensive coordinator, but you fire him when he had nothing to do with your crappy offense and keep Nick? And then you keep Nick and give the power to somebody else and Kellen Moore? What was wrong with my guy, Brian Johnson? That's speaking, of course, as Jalen Hurts, if this is the way this is truly playing out. Doesn't build great relationships, and if you're Jeffrey Lurie and you're the type of person that just really loves, I just love emotional intelligence, that seems emotionally stupid. Again, a lot of the stuff that Diana Rossini put in the story for The Athletic was like, yeah. And then you get to the part about Sirianni was calling the plays, you're like, oh, interesting. So that would explain why Jalen Hurts is a little butthurt about the whole situation. Sean Gillespie. Wasn't Nick Sirianni an offensive coordinator before? Did he hit his head or something? Yes, he was, but he wasn't calling plays. Frank Gregg was calling plays. Pat! What's up, buddy? Nice to see you, pal. How are you? Go Wing. Oh, you don't have to apologize for spelling my name with a K. It's all good. Adam Hurley, Eagles and Phillies will be utter failures. Gee, thanks, Adam. Joe Whip, what's going on? Get a closer. Yeah, get a closer, absolutely. Yes, I know Minnesota is in the Central Time Zone. I've been there many times. Had the weirdest bar experience of my life in Minnesota. Anyway, but yeah, I just don't like 7:40. I like 6:40 start times. I know, that's an hour difference. I'm complaining now. Wait till you get me when they're in Los Angeles. Play it at 10:10. Smooth segue. Thank you, Charles Dead. What's going on? Jeff, what's going on, man? Morning, Farzi. Any thoughts of the NBA Olympic team barely beating Sudan at the last seconds with LeBron's layup? How does that game be that close? That was crazy. Jeff, I saw, what did they have? 40-plus point favorites. The United States were 40-plus point favorites against South Sudan. They won by a point. LeBron's walking off the court. They get the shot of him. NBA Twitter put it out there saying, he's like, I like the close ones. I like it when they're close. Challenge us a little bit. Test us. And I'm like, how about you don't be tested? Now you're playing Germany, who's like the third-ranked team in the world. That should be it might not be easy against the Germans. I thought it was cool. Like, as long as the United States wins, I could look at it and be like, oh, that's cool. What really amazed me wasn't just the fact that LeBron got the layup. What amazed me was that South Sudan, first of all, they're coached by Royal Ivey, former Sixer processor Royal Ivey. And then coached or GM? Coached. It was that they missed the jump shot, the open jump shot that would have won it, and then they missed the layup, or the layup got blocked at the end of the game. So they had two chances in the final, second and a half to actually win against the United States, and the U.S. stepped up. Well, the first shot, the guy just missed. The second one, the layup, USA was all over it. America. Anyway, but yeah, that was pretty crazy. Crowley, what's going on? K. Raleigh, 26. Phillies need a closer and an outfielder that can hit. If you can get those, I'll be happy. I'll be happy with both. Absolutely. Paul Mancini, what's going on? Phillies next 18 games minus the Marlins is where the rubber meets the road. They're playing good teams, many on the road, and they need to get back to playing team ball. Paul Mancini, you know what you can call it? The Gauntlet. It's the Gauntlet. Baz, Paul, I wouldn't count the Braves as a good team. They are a shell of themselves and missing many players. Here's the list for the Braves, by the way. This is why, again, I hate talking about the Braves as if they're a threat, because I think it's pathetic that they're still a threat. Even though the Phillies are now 8.5 games up on them in the division. Ronald Acuna Jr., ACL, done for the season. Spencer Strider, elbow, done for the season. Ozzie Albies, now out for around 2 months with a broken wrist. Max Fried missed time with a forearm injury, and Michael Harris, a hamstring injury. These are significant injuries for the Braves, and we're still talking about them. Damn it, man. Braves are 54-44. They are a good team. They are a good team. Ozzie Albies might be the... I don't know. Now they're bringing up their top prospect to take his place. So watch that guy hit 350 with 40 home runs. Paul Mancini, Alvarado and Dominguez are not getting it done and going backwards. Need to upgrade the bullpen. Hoffman, Kerkering, Strom have pitched very well all season, but they need more. Strom started to hit a little bit of a wall. Kerkering had a bad last performance, and Hoffman is still pretty good. But I want to see these guys continue to add. You're certainly right about that. Oof. Braves will catch the Phillies if they play like they have the last two seasons. Or last two series, excuse me. I don't see him catching the Phillies. Paul, one last thing from you. Hurts, these players are all professional and have to block out personal feelings when trying to maximize their talents and success. Coaches and players come and go. You have to keep working. I agree. That's a great way to put that. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Let's get to our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Once again, the story I've been talking about from Marcus Hayes over the weekend, here it is. If you guys have the Inquirer.com app, you can check that out. That's the way it's presented. It's also on Inquirer.com. Gives you a good insight as to what Jeffrey Lurie could be thinking about the future of Nick Sirianni and why he decided to retain the Eagles head coach despite the historic collapse of last season. Also, like I said, your Philadelphia Phillies get back at it tonight, 7:40 in Minneapolis. Ranger Suarez gets the ball. He goes against Bailey Over. He is 8-5 on the season with a 4.14 ERA. The 29-year-old right-handed pitcher, who, by the way, comes in at 6'9", so a little bit of a lanky fella. He comes out after a start against Chicago White Sox where he went 6 innings, allowing 3 runs on 4 hits, did give up a home run. Prior to that, he faced the Detroit Tigers going 6 innings, allowing just 1 run, 1 earned run, 3 runs in total, 7 hits, and 1 home run. He has not given up more than – he gave up 3 earned runs against the White Sox, but prior to that, 4 straight starts, not allowing more than 2 earned runs in a ball game. He also faced the Seattle Mariners, pretty good baseball team, went 6 innings, 1 run against them, and then also took it to the Oakland A's in 2 starts, allowing 3 earned runs in total in 15 and a third innings of work over 2 starts. So that's who the Phillies draw in the ball game tonight. As for your Phillies starting pitcher, Ranger Suarez back on the bump. First time since the All-Star break. He's had a rough go of it, as we all know. Ranger Suarez, over his last 3 starts, has allowed, oh, good God, 15 runs in his last 3 starts. Coming back from the back spasms, hasn't pitched since the 12th. Be 20 days. Excuse me, be 10 days. It'll be 10 days, not 20. 10 days between starts. A little bit of a break for Ranger. I say he gets back at it tonight. My prediction tonight, 7 innings, 1 run, Ranger Suarez. 7 innings, 1 run, Ranger Suarez tonight against the Minnesota Twins, who, by the way, worth noting, no slouch of a baseball team. Phillies coming to this one, of course, 63 wins on the season, 63 and 36. The Twins are 54 and 44 on the year, and they are second in the AL Central to the Cleveland Guardians. Royals and Twins are both having good years, but the Cleveland Guardians are having just a better year. They're at 59 and 39, those Guardians, 20 games over 500. The Baltimore Orioles, now the only team in baseball other than the Phillies, with 60 wins. Dodgers sitting on 59. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. And make sure you like and subscribe to the all-new Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel as well, where yours truly brings you your Philadelphia Phillies postcasts after each and every ball game. Talk to you guys later. Have a great rest of your day. See you guys tonight on Locked On Sports Philadelphia after the 7:40 start time of the Twins and the Phillies. I'll be on right after the game on Locked On Sports Philadelphia, hopefully breaking down that Ranger Suarez victory, 7-inning, 1-run performance. Talk to you guys after the game. Have a great rest of your day. See you tonight. Bye.